Thank you, Shadrach Miti, for that special report. I'm still with my guest in studio, that is Andiwo Abondo, an education expert. Andiwo, before we begin our conversation, or rather pick up from where you left, I see Mary Nasiki on Facebook saying parents have now gone back to school in capital again, with a lot of exclamation marks. Is that the feeling that you have? Do you share her sentiments as well?
I think I don't agree that parents have gone back to school. Parents, I think, have just been pulled back to be able to find time and support their children. And I think the earlier we are able to appreciate this as parents, that what CBC is calling for is you being available to provide some time for your children, to be able to support the teacher. Apart from supporting learning activities that teachers probably would want parents to support, there's also expectation that you also work with the teacher to monitor learning achievement and monitor learning progress in the school. And I think this is what I would want to urge parents, that CBC is here with us to stay. The earlier we appreciate our new role in terms of within the CBC framework, to be more engaged, to be more available, and to be more present in the lives of our children, the better for these young people.
Indeed. We talk about the CBC was rolled out in 2017, and so much, there was so much talk, and much of the training went to teachers. But before you get to the teachers, I know you've kept that pending because it's quite an expansive topic altogether. Let's go to the parents, the engagement of parents. How were they to be prepared for all this? Because when it's rolled out, rather when it started, there was a lot of public outcry because parents didn't know what to do, didn't know where to get these things from. Then how do you ensure that you put them in the loop? Because there appears to have been that gap of not bringing in the parents, because the parents now waited for the children to report to school through the CBC. Then whatever was coming in as assignments or assessments is what they were involved in. There was pretty much not much of involvement or sensitization for the parents, don't you think?
Yeah, I think I agree, George, that there's a gap there. It is very important that at least we are able to reorient parents, to be able to sensitize parents. But I think the way it has been done, maybe COVID might have interfered with the KICD program, because as much as I know, or the much I know, is that KICD prepared parental engagement and empowerment guidelines. And then these guidelines were meant to be used to sensitize parents so that they can be able to understand their new role in this new framework, or this new system. But I don't think that has happened. What we were expecting is that KICD would be able to organize orientation programs for parent leaders through their parent associations, through school boards, and through other structures like ministry structures, so that parents are more sensitized and our parents are more involved even in the planning for delivery of the curriculum. So I think that is what we need to work on. Most of the parents that are complaining get surprised because they only get communication of what is expected, what they should be doing from the teachers. I think school leaders, school boards, and local education authorities, in addition to ministry and KICD, need to come out and begin a national program through which we can be able to really empower the parents to appreciate and take up this role. First, they need to appreciate the design and the concept of CBC. And then they need to be able to be told about issues of financing, issues of content, and issues of roles and responsibilities.
So how would that, ideally, Andy, how would that happen? Because you can't assemble all parents in this country in one room, in one place together, and tell them, okay, A, B, C, D is what will happen, is what will happen, this is how you'll do it. How then do you go about that?
There are several ways, George. And we've been talking to parents even before CBC. I don't think it will be a very difficult task to do. One, we have regular parents' meetings with teachers, class meetings. Opportunities could be created to be able to educate parents. But teachers can only do that after they have been given enough information about CBC. That is one level, that class activities and class meetings can be an opportunity. The other opportunity is general meetings that parents have in schools. We could be able to empower school boards and parents association representatives to also deliver this. The other way is also to use media effectively. I think we have not, KICD and ministry have not used media effectively. Probably they only talk about CBC when you call them, but they should be able to have a structured and a deliberate way of communicating these issues to parents and the public. And the other way through which they can be able to do this is to we have heads associations, we have unions that teachers belong to. If they are properly prepared, they can actually orient and induct parents on this matter.
So let's go back now to the issue of teachers.
Yes.
And to date, just about, I think, 3 weeks ago, we highlighted a story of a school whose the Parents and Teachers Association, and actually the parents, I think in Kajiado County, who went constructing a school because the kids were still learning under trees. So we are talking about CBC in an era where all this is needed, the use of parents, technology, but there are still some more teething issues. And when an issue such as the unavailability of classrooms in some parts of the country, we are not saying all, but in some parts of the country, which are being still reported, how then do you sensitize the teachers from these places, from these schools, to be able to roll down the CBC curriculum to such pupils?
Thank you very much, George. I think I'll start with the issue of teachers. On the matter of teachers, we have two components. One is how do you reorient and retool the teachers that are already in the system. Those are currently in our schools are teaching. I think the ministry has been doing this, but from the feedback that we get, probably we need to do much more. We expect, first of all, for these teachers to be reoriented or retooled around the design and concept of CBC. We expect these teachers to be capacitated on the area of pedagogy, the methods of delivering CBC, and most importantly, what I call curriculum adaptation. How do you deliver this curriculum in your local context? Not asking parents all the time to go to the cyber or to go online to print materials. That adaptation component is very important so that we are able to maintain the creativity that CBC stresses. We are also able to maintain the practical, real-world nature of what CBC expects learners to operate within. So I think that is one. Number two, we also need to look at teacher numbers. Because we keep on, if you look at now, the 100% transition policy for secondary schools, for instance, but also looking at even the fact that we are asking every child to be in school. But we don't want to bite the bullet and employ teachers. We are still doing piecemeal interventions in terms of teacher recruitment. If you recruit 5,000, 10,000 annually, and then I think on the other hand, you also talk about interns that are not enough. You cannot address the challenges of CBC if you don't address the issue of teacher quality, that is one. If you don't address the teacher numbers. We need to recruit. I think TSE admits that we have a deficit of close to 100,000, over 65,000 of which should be for primary schools. If we don't deal with this gap, we are not going to address some of the challenges soon.
We want to end up this conversation, and in 5 seconds, what do we need to do as a country? Just very briefly, your closing remarks. One, we need to look at teacher numbers, as I've said. Two, we need to look at teaching and learning resources. What is it that we need we need and we don't need? We need to do infrastructure audit. We also need to do finance analysis and finance audit. And the issue of documentation, I think if teachers are feeling that documentation is taking too much of their time, we need to get this feedback seriously and begin to revisit the issue of what is it that teachers need to work on. Because documentation in curriculum process is normal and very important, but if it is too much, then that feedback is critical and minister needs to listen.